welcome, dear listeners, dear participants, to yet another session of the Banking and Financial Services Awareness Month, organized by the Ugandan Institute of Banking and Financial Services. Now, today's session is a continuation of the previous discussions we've had. The previous discussions focused on savings. How do we become better savers? How do we become better personal financial managers? How do we manage money as a family? And how do we manage savings or grow savings as entrepreneurs? So the focus there was very much on savings. Today we are transitioning to the other side of investment. And we are privileged to have as our main speaker tonight, Madame Stella Atim. I'll just say a few things about Madame Stella Atim before we dash into our discussion. Ms. Stella Atim is currently the head of retail banking at Bank of Africa, Uganda. She has over 17 years of experience gained in the banking industry in Uganda, 8 of which have been at senior management level. Stella holds a bachelor's degree in statistics from Makerere University and is currently pursuing an MBA with the Edinburgh Business School. She's also a graduate of the Harvard Management Mentor Program from Harvard Business Publishing. And in addition, she has attended several courses in various topics that cover aspects of banking and finance, both locally and internationally. Now, Stella will take us through the theme of the day, which is striking a balance between savings and investment. My name is Anthony Mlindwa, and I'll be your moderator tonight. How does one maintain a reasonable balance between savings and investing? How does one maintain that balance? Now, the answers to these questions are far from obvious. They are far from obvious because there's a wide array of investment options from which to choose, each with its own peculiarities, its own risk, its own returns. They're all distinct, they're all different. Furthermore, each saver out there, you and I, is a unique individual with his or her own inclinations. For instance, some individuals are disposed to undertaking tangible investments, in agriculture or trade or whatever, and are prepared to shoulder the effort associated with starting and sustaining them. However, others are less inclined to go in this direction and prefer less demanding options, such as buying company shares or simply investing in treasury bills. And without a minimum of discipline, we may be carried away by investing and forget to hold some saving for the rainy day, the type of rainy day like the one we're experiencing right now, COVID-19. Now, to provide some context on why this discussion on investing well is especially critical in our setting, I just wish to call to mind 2 interrelated pieces of statistics. First, from NSSF, that has indicated to us that 80% of retired employees squander their Social Security benefits within 3 years and thereafter revert to a life of poverty. The second piece of statistics relates to our newly established small and medium-sized businesses, the so-called SMEs, which basically indicates to us that 50% of Ugandan SMEs will have collapsed by their 3rd anniversary. And we have an indication of where the problems come from. It's basically poor governance and inadequate access to capital, which speaks in a way to savings. And we also know that in Uganda, as a rule, the average saver tends to go for real investments, typically agriculture or real estate, trade, or some service offering like a consultancy. And this is largely on account of reasons rooted in our history. This is what we know best. This is what we see all around us. But it's also premised on the promise of higher returns on investment, the prospect of creating, greater impact on our communities, starting with employing our own families, as well as the emotional satisfaction that comes along with it. So the tendency is to go for real investments as opposed to financial investments. But let's remember that many times we are often ill-prepared, technically and emotionally, for the breadth of challenges associated with starting and sustaining these investments. Not just starting, but also sustaining them. And we also typically pay very scant attention, very little attention to the other side of the investment chain, which is the financial investments, such as acquisition of shares in well-established entities or investing in other high-yielding instruments. I mentioned the treasury bills, for instance. So for the typical Ugandan saver out there, investment is very much synonymous with starting their own business, and not necessarily with investing in another existing business or buying treasury bills and so on and so forth. So against this background, the Ugandan saver needs some guidance on these salient points. So please join me, ladies and gentlemen, in welcoming Ms. Stella Atim, Head Retail Banking at Bank of Africa, as she takes us through a discussion of the theme, striking a balance between savings and investment. Ms. Atim, over to you. Ms. Atim, yep.
Thank you so much, Anthony, and a very good afternoon to everyone. It's very exciting for me to be here to discuss or share with you some insights on a topic that is very close to my heart, and that is basically savings and how then we can transition into investments. And more than ever, the timing is perfect, because we have seen what has played out across the world. We have been hit by a pandemic, and this has opened our eyes, and it has brought a shock to everybody. It's basically like a reality check for all of us, yeah? So just to divulge some statistics that are quite telling, and these statistics are basically cutting across, yeah? Cutting across the poor, the rich, the middle income, yeah? We have some statistics that indications that over 50% of Ugandans, yeah, were unable to sustain their daily expense after this pandemic. Yeah, so that is quite shocking. Yeah, and that gets to show that a number of Ugandans, whether rich or poor, are living basically hand to mouth, or we have overly invested and do not have near cash instruments or cash that is readily available to take care of such eventualities. Then we have over 15% were unable to sustain the expenses for a month, and over 10% for 2 months. So that basically tells us that it's important for us to save, yeah? To save and put aside money that we can use in the event we have these eventualities. So Anthony, in my view, or from what has played out, it's very clear that more than ever, we need to take saving more seriously and embark on it as a life journey. Yeah, so thank you very much. Over to you, Anthony.
Okay, Thanks. Thank you very much, Stella. I don't know whether we have any questions as yet from the audience, but if there are none as yet, I could just, again, to take the discussion forward, raise a couple of questions. The first that quickly comes to my mind is, what would you recommend as a minimum percentage a saver ought to maintain in liquid form, that is cash or near cash, to support unexpected occurrences, so-called rainy days, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, something that comes in from nowhere? That's question number one. Then I don't know whether you prefer that I raise all of them and then you answer them in a go, or I raise one by one.
I think we'll go with the option of raising one by one, and we'll go through that, and then we can transit to the next question. So thank you very much for that question, and a question that is quite relevant to today, to what is currently affecting us. So usually in financial management, we would say that an individual should at least have 6 months money stashed away for in the event of eventualities. You should have at least money that should be able to cover 6 months of your expenses. And we would usually propose 6 months because within 6 months, the assumption is that you would have been able to get back on your feet and stabilize whatever issues that are surrounding the eventuality. Yeah. However, in order for us to manage our finances better, we would look at it from the perspective of a 50-30-20 rule, if I may call it that way, of looking at 50% of my net income. I will spend it on there are those must-haves. I must have shelter, I must have food, I must pay my bills. Yeah, so ordinarily would look at 50% of that going towards meeting those fixed expenses. Then would look at the 30%. Now this 30% is usually what I would call discretionary expenses, or in basic terms, what I would consider as the ball is in your court kind of expenses, because these are expenses that are entirely within your reach, and you can determine on whether to spend or not. Yeah. So for instance, contributions to your friend's wedding, burials, supporting a family, donating to charity. So these are would ideally fit within the 30%. Then I would look at the 20%, which is saving. Yeah, saving for the future, saving for investment. Yeah, putting that aside. So usually that 20% is minimum 20%. But as I said, there's a 30 that is discretionary. So that implies that you can actually then increase on the 20%. Yeah, on the 20% to be able to support with that. So I would say, Anthony, about minimum 20%, but with an emergency fund set aside. And I said that emergency fund should be able to cover at least 6 months of your expenses. Yeah. So for instance, if I lost my job today, I should be able to sustain the life that I've been living for at least 6 months. I should be able to cater for my bills for at least 6 months as I try to stagger and get back on my feet. Yeah, so it's saving the 20%, but also setting aside that emergency fund to cater for that. So if you don't have an emergency fund, it has to start now, to start building that emergency fund to cater for that 6 months, yeah, ordinarily, and then have that 20% from which you will then be able to invest. As I mentioned from the start, that savings form a foundation for you to be able to invest, because for you to be able to invest, you have to have money. And for you to have money, it's money that you should have saved that should be available. Yeah, so I think those are my thoughts around that, Anthony.
Okay, I'll quickly read some of the questions. Bernard Paru has raised the question, what is the best investment formula? Yes, I suspect that the kind of answers you've been given, in a way, answer that. If I understood Bernard Paru, best investment formula is the ratios. How much do you commit to daily expenditure? How much do you commit to emergencies? How much is committed to investment, savings and investment? If I understood that correctly. Bernard, if I haven't understood you correctly, Stella will provide a response. And then the other one was Isaac Niwamanya has asked, with low incomes and high cost of living in Kampala, how can one strike a balance between savings, investment, and survival? I guess what it means by survival is the daily expenses. How does one strike a balance between savings, investment, and survival? Then question number 3, maybe Stella, perhaps you answer those 2, and then I'll pose question number 3 from Irene Akurut.
Okay, so thank you very much for those interesting questions. So the first from Peru, in regard to what the best investment formula would be, I have just given a generic of the 50, 30, 20 rule. But that, as I said, there is the 30 that you can still play around with to increase on your saving. But what is most important is that all this cannot happen if we don't have a budget, yeah? So it's very important for us to have personal budgets. Oftentimes, we are budgeting for our businesses, we're budgeting for the different organizations that we work with, but we forget to budget and have our personal budgets. So out of those personal budgets is where you can then be able to ascertain what expenses are luxuries, which are relevant, which ones are a must-have, which ones are needs, or which are just wants, yeah? So it's important to have a budget, and then out of that budget, it can play out on exactly what the income that you can save will eventually be. So it's not cast in stone. The 50, 30, 20 rule is not cast in stone, but it's just a guiding principle for us to be able to then form what formula works for us. So I don't know, Peru, whether I have been able to answer your question. Then the second question is, sorry?
Pretty much similar. It says, how does it strike? This was Isaac Niwamanya. He wonders how he would strike a balance between savings, investment, and survival. And I think by survival, he meant daily expenses. He says, with low incomes and high cost of living in Kampala, so he qualifies it, how can one strike a balance between savings, investment, and survival?
Okay, so pretty much the same, but I will add on to basically build on the response. Is there is the notion that we all struggle with, that I don't have money, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money to save. But when research has been done, and of course from the interactions that we have with the different members in the community, yeah, you will be amazed that the market vendors, for instance, yeah, the market vendors, for instance, in Owino, yeah, you will find this market vendor that is saving 1,000 shillings per day, yeah, is living in their own house, for instance. And you will basically be asking, wondering, how have they done it, yeah? And it's just the notion. Sometimes it's, I may want to say, just psychological, where we are looking at the money that we have, and we are basically thinking that the money I earn too little, for instance. That is the mentality. Yeah, but I want to live beyond my means. Yeah. So with the amount of money that you have, having set a budget, and then you can live within your means and be able to save however little. Yeah, it's step by step, day by day, building the bigger building blocks. Yeah. So right now within the economy, we are seeing a general growth of investment clubs, because it has come to the realization that 2 is better than 1. We can leverage on the numbers. Yeah. If I want to, let's say, buy a piece of land, yeah, and if there's somebody selling, let's say, 10 acres of land, if I go as an individual and I ask for a mutation of 1 acre, yeah, that 1 acre might be priced at 5 million shillings. But if we pool our resources together and we are, let's say, 10, the price might be much lower, because we are looking at quantity, but also I will be leveraging on the members, on the resources that we have pooled together to be able to achieve what we would like to achieve faster. Yeah. So saving must basically start now. Yeah, we must start now with whatever little that we have. Yeah, I believe that as individuals, we need to live within our means. I also believe in the saying of having to cut your coat according to the cloth size. Yeah, and it's possible. Yeah, we have seen it play out with for instance, a market vendor who is living in their own house and they've been saving that 1,000 shillings a day. So it can still be done. Yeah, it can still be done. But you find that sometimes we just want to live way beyond our means.
All right. Thank you very much, Stella. Irina Kurut seeks a clarification. Do you recommend that we maintain 6 months stash in liquid cash, or is it okay for an individual to invest that stash in near liquid assets to generate more money in the meantime? I guess if I were to try and understand that question, do we maintain the 6 month recommended savings in cash, or they can be in near cash form? Should it be strictly in cash form, cash lying in an account, a current account somewhere, or it's fine to invest it in a fixed deposit or whatever, treasury bill, if I understood it correctly? Cash or near cash form?
It's cash and near cash form. Even cash, because if cash is not cash that is seated in a pot somewhere, no. It can be seated on an account, and they are right now competitive saving account products across the industry. So it's basically important that we look out for those options and be able to benefit from that. So yes, Irene, it's cash and near cash. Yeah, an investment that you can easily liquidate. Yeah, so there are those quick financial investments, like for instance, a fixed deposit that you can walk into a bank and say, oh, I need to cancel this investment now because I have an emergency and it will be done. So yes, it's cash and near cash. But as we have the cash, our cash should be working for us. It shouldn't just be seated on an account that you're not benefiting from. Yeah. So it's important for us as well to reach out and do some research. Yeah. Because from my banking experience, I have seen a general trend where Ugandans, we use our saving accounts almost as transactional accounts. Yeah. So somebody has a savings account, but the savings account is basically being used as a transactional account. So it's important that as we get proper use of our money by going out there and speaking to your bankers and understanding the products and services, the options that are out there. So thank you, Anthony. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you very much. Uma Kajingo, I think raises the question. Thanks, Stella. Given the fall of value of money over time, we seemingly have learned that hedging, in other words, temporary investment, is better than saving hard cash. Now, much as the pandemic was an emergency situation, should it drive us back to saving physical cash as opposed to hedging? This is Umar asking. I think it seems to wonder, should we hedge or maintain cash? Pretty much similar to the question that Irene raised, cash and near cash. Yeah, that is Umar Kajingo. I think, if I understood it correctly. And then Lydia Namono raises the question, what does a holistic financial plan look like? This is Lydia Namono. What does a holistic financial plan look like? I think the portfolio, what would we want to see in that portfolio? If I understood Lydia correctly. Over to you, Stella.
Okay, so thank you, Lydia. And a holistic financial plan will look at what I call a diversified portfolio. Yeah. So if I've understood the question very well, it's looking at right from my earnings. Yeah, my earnings. How do I then budget my earnings? And then how then do I save? And then how do I invest? Yeah, invest this money. So when it comes to investment, there is a component of risk. Yeah, there's a component of risk and return. And those two aspects are very critical when you are prepared to carry out an investment. Yeah. So a holistic, and given the fact that there is risk embedded therein in an investment, then you will have to then strike a balance in terms of what is the objective of this investment. Is it a short-term investment that I would want to pull out of? Is it a long-term investment? Is it fixed? Yeah, for instance, the financial, if you're investing, let's say in the financial assets, yeah, these are fixed. You have your money, 100 million, you will invest it, you will get a fixed return, yeah. But if you got this 100 million and put it, let's say in real estate, yeah, real estate, there is volatility in there, yeah? There is unpredictability in there. So it's a risk that you have chosen to take. So that's why I would recommend for a holistic financial plan to take care of diversification of those risks and the return, yeah? So that at any one point, case in point right now, when we had this pandemic, we had a lockdown and there are some sectors that have heavily been affected. We woke up one morning and the education sector has been on a lockdown. it's gradually being opened up, but look at these school owners who 1 minute they had their schools running, their investments were in this sector, and they were earning from it, and there's a total lockdown in this sector. So if this school owner, this investor has placed all their eggs in one basket, then they are totally messed up at that point in time. So if these investors have diversified and invested maybe in fixed deposits, in real estate, in the education sector, then you have a shoulder to lean on in the event that one of the investments goes bust, because we are cognizant of the fact that there is a risk that we are taking as we take on these investments.
Okay, thank you very much. Lawrence Malay has raised the question: as a salary earner, which would be the best option to save my money from salary? Is it keeping it on an account or starting up a side income business? I think it's, again, the whole idea of the portfolio. Then Jacqueline raises the question: where should this emergency money be kept? Standard savings account, fixed deposit account, or some other? Maybe we could deal with those two. So the other gentleman is saying, should I put the money on the account or start up my own business? And then Jacqueline is, where should I keep the emergency money? Standard savings account, fixed deposit account, or any other account?
Okay, so I will start with the salary earner. Where should I keep my money? Should I keep my money on an account, or should I start a side business? Yeah. So before you even start a business, yeah, you need equity to start this business. And in order for you to generate this equity, either there are different sources of this equity. Either you will get money maybe from your family, or you will save money, yeah, your salary, to then be able to start this business. So yes, as a salary earner, and starting a business, you just don't wake up one morning and start a business. Yeah, there is you have to plan for this business. Yeah, because a business is just beyond starting. Yeah, a business, there are many dynamics that affect a business that have to be put into consideration. There is regulatory. There is management of the business, competition, marketing, understanding your market, understanding your suppliers. So there's a lot of dynamics that are embedded in starting a business. So what I would recommend is for you to start off by saving, because if you have now ascertained how much money you will need to start your business, then you will start off by saving the money. And when you're saving the money, for instance, at Bank of Africa, we have saving plans, yeah, where you're saving for a purpose. I'm saving to start my business. I will have an ambitious savings account where I will tuck in that money for 6 months. After the 6 months, I would have built equity to start my business. Or you can stagger it and say, I will save my money for 6 months. Thereafter, I will put in maybe on a fixed deposit, and then eventually start my business. So there are so many ways to skin the rat, for a better choice of words. But yes, I think that's what I would recommend from my perspective. And then there was the question of where I should place my emergency fund. Yeah, as we earlier said, this emergency fund, since it's an emergency fund, the cash has to be readily available. Yeah, So if the cash is going to be readily available, so it should either be in cash or near cash, yeah, where I can quickly liquidate and get cash, yeah. So in that perspective, yes, it can be a fixed deposit, it can be a savings account, it can be a treasury bill, something that you can quickly liquidate to get back your cash.
Okay, Robert Afama, Robert raises the question. Thanks for the discussion. My question is, given our African culture, where there is high dependency syndrome, and where some are the only ones in the community who cater for the needs of dependents, who in many cases are orphans or have no parents, or have parents who are just not concerned about the education needs and well-being of their children. Well, he provides the preamble, but it doesn't raise the question. But I guess he was trying to say, given this context, how do I save? How do I invest? He didn't complete it, but he provides the context. Dependent society, high dependency syndrome. We're talking about savings and investment. How do I maneuver in that situation? I guess that's what he wanted to say. And then Alan, it's not Alan, but Alan raises the question, what is your advice on salary earners taking loans as a way of forced savings? As a way of, I think she meant forcing savings, fostering forced savings by taking a loan. Because if you take a loan, you are forced to repay the loan and you're forced to use the loan to do something useful. So she's saying, do you advise salary earners to take loans as a way of generating forced savings? Perhaps we'll deal with those two first and before we move on next.
Okay, so for the question about the African culture and the bit of dependence, I think, yes, the African culture at times, in my view, and I respect culture. Yeah, in my view, I think sometimes we are too enabling. Yeah, we are too enabling to our relatives. Yeah. So even our relatives, for instance, in the villages, you will find that the African culture will look at it like, oh, so if somebody has made it in that particular village, they should bear the whole burden. So if we are to flip it the other way around, is us who have now been exposed and educated, it's time for us then to bring some sort of organization and level of development in our villages to see what is it that our community members in these villages can do to be able to support with the supporting of all these needs that we have in terms of the orphans that we need to look after, the unemployment that is rampant, and what are those technical skills, yeah? Because right now we are transitioning really from the white collar jobs to more of a technical skill, yeah? What are those things that one can do that can be able to generate income? Yeah. So instead of enabling our society in terms of giving out handouts, how is it that we can be able to empower them and upskill them in ventures that they can be able to do? For instance, yeah. For instance, in my village, for instance, I will look at the aspect of agriculture. 1 minute, people were just growing crops for subsistence. But along the way, people have gotten to realize the value of maize, for instance, the value of simsim or sesame, for instance. So back in the village right now, everyone is busy engaging in this agriculture, and they're able to pull the produce together and be able to support the wider family. So it's upon us to be able to empower and to empower our community and get that support that we need. Now, Alan raised a question to do with advice salary earner taking loan to foster savings, yeah? To foster savings, yeah, to foster forced savings. I will look at it from the perspective of, as we're taking, it's important when you're taking this loan, yeah, this loan is not for consumption, yeah. So I will look at it from the angle of, let's say, I'm taking this loan to start a business, yeah. And as a salary earner, this business, you know, you will actually have time to supervise this business. And in this business, it's not the loan that when we look at the way your business is structured, the debt and the equity, which is your own money that you've put in the business, the debt is not overriding the equity in the business. Yeah. So it's important to start your business with your own equity. Eventually, yes, the business has to grow. You have to inject in borrowed funds. That's fine. That's understandable. I would look at it from the perspective of the salary earner. I would look at it, for instance, of taking a mortgage. Yeah, that I will look at a forced saving, because in this instance, instead of paying the landlord, you're actually paying an installment with a goal of eventually owning this house. So yes, in that perspective, I can look at it as taking a loan to basically foster forced savings, because you are in essence saving for an ultimate goal of owning this house. So yes, from that perspective, I would advise you to take on mortgages, which are a necessary evil, because oftentimes we have people that are complaining that the mortgages are long-term, you pay so much interest in the long run, but the ultimate objective is that you will own this house eventually. So yes, from that perspective, I would advise somebody to do that. But I would not advise somebody to borrow for consumption. You are borrowing money to throw a wedding, yeah. You are borrowing money to go on holiday, yeah. Because when you come back, you're still paying this loan, and there is nothing eventually that you've gotten out of it. Yeah. So from that perspective, that's what I would advise.
Okay, fine. Thanks, Stella. David raises the question, what are the different investment vehicles available for a low to middle income earner? I guess he's speaking about financial investment vehicles, perhaps not on the other side of the real investments. So if I were to repeat it, the way he put it, what are the different investment vehicles available for a low to middle income earner? Should I raise another one as well? So that you answer two in a row?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Maria Torreines raises the question, should one compromise quality of life because of saving? For example, should I put my children in public schools, UPE or USE, so that I force myself to save? We'll probably deal with those two before we move on next.
Okay, so thank you very much. I will start off with the question for David. The different investment vehicles that are available. And this, I would think of, I'm thinking is looking at the financial investments. So for this, we have the fixed deposits. Yeah, you can invest in fixed deposits. They are short-term, up to 12 months. at very competitive rates. And these financial assets or investments are basically carried out by financial institutions. Yeah, that's why anyway they are called financial investments. So then we have what we call government paper or the government securities. Now, these government securities, we have the treasury bills, which can go up to 364 days. We have 91 days, yeah. Then we have the 182 days, then up to the 364 days. Then we have, you can invest in treasury bonds. These go on up to 15 years. So you can have a 2-year bond, 3-year bond, 10-year bond, 15-year bond, yeah? So usually when we are investing, I would advise, it's important, there are some key considerations that you must take care of, yeah? So for starters, it's important to look at the cost of the investment, yeah? Should I invest in treasury bills and treasury bonds because these are deemed to be risk-free because you're dealing with the government and there are hardly any chances that they will never pay you back? Or should I deal in real estate where I will have to grapple with tenants, maintenance costs, and all this? So it's important that as we are investing, we look at what the cost of investment will basically be. Then eventually, of course, as we're investing, we're looking at the return because most importantly, we are investing for a return, yeah? So it's important to look at what is the return and what is the goal that I'm trying to achieve with this investment. And as we mentioned earlier, we've been basically talking about the ease of liquidating, for instance, yeah? How easy is it for me? If you have ascertained the goal that this money, it's an education plan, for instance, I'm investing for, I'm going to save for an education plan, then it should be short term. So not to digress from David's question, yes, those are the different vehicles of investment that are available. And for the government paper or the security, it's as low as 100,000 shillings. You can start with as low as 100,000 shillings, yeah? So, yeah, so then the question was the next question was in regard to quality of life vis-a-vis saving, yeah? As I said earlier, of course, quality of life is important, yeah? Quality of life is very important, but we need to strike a balance and be sure to appreciate the fact that life is built in what I would call like four different stages, yeah? We have the childhood stage where you're being looked after and everything is being provided for you, yeah? Then we will have the early employment stage, whether it's self-employment or you're employed, yeah? Then we have, so when you start the early employment, yes, you're earning and you also have expenses, yeah? Then we have the mid and top employment, yeah, that phase. And then we have retirement, yeah? So, and retirement will basically be a time when you're now not earning, yeah? So what will be your buffer will be the savings or your investments that you would have put aside. So basically your money will be working for you now because you won't have the strength to earn income directly. So this will be fallback income in terms of savings and in terms of investments. So we need to get to terms with the fact that that a time will come when you will have needs, yeah, but you will not be earning. So it's then important right now, yeah, to use the time now when you earn to raise funds for when you will not be earning. So it's basically establishing that delicate balance of, yes, quality of life, but also bearing in mind that I will need to have a good quality life as well when I do not have the strength to be able to earn money proactively. Yeah. So yes, it's important to take your children to a good school and give them a good foundation, but we should not forget the aspect of us saving however little money it is, and also find out different investment options, how that money can then grow. I have given an example of investment clubs. Yeah, investment clubs, it's basically a number of people coming together, pooling their resources together, yeah, with an ultimate goal. Yeah, so we are getting to have groups of people coming together to set up their own retirement plans through investment clubs. Yeah, so there is no two ways about it. We must save, and the saving must start now. However little it is, we must take that bold step and start saving.
Okay, thanks, Stella.
I hope I answered the question. Over to you, Anthony. Yes.
Thank you very much. Now, a couple of other questions coming in here. Let me just quickly scroll down. Calvin says, what advice would you give to a 21-year-old in regard to creating a portfolio? So what advice would you give to a 21-year-old in regard to creating a portfolio? I suspect Calvin is still a student somewhere. And then Bernard raises the question, I'm in a dilemma between opening business and joining a PhD program. Which one is the best plan for investment? Should I keep it at that or raise the third one?
No, you can raise the third one.
Okay, Alan Nantege raises a question. Is it a good idea to get a loan and deposit it in another bank as a fixed deposit? Is it a good idea to get a loan and deposit it in another bank as fixed deposit?
Okay, so I can take I can take those. The advice, 21-year-old creating an investment portfolio, as of course creating an investment portfolio needs you need income to be able to create that portfolio. You need a foundation savings to be able to create that portfolio. And before we carry out these investments, as I mentioned, there are a number of things that we need to consider. Yeah, you need to consider the cost of acquiring this investment. How do I maintain this investment? The cost of maintaining this investment. What do I want to as a return vis-a-vis my goal? What are the risks embedded in the investments that I want to take on? The ease of liquidation. And what is the regulatory environment? That is something that we usually forget and get into trouble with the regulators. Yeah. So yes, it's important to look at all that. And also in the spirit of diversifying the portfolio, because the portfolio, there are risks they are embedded. So it's important to have a good mix of the risks therein, yeah? Both high risk, low risk, because the higher the risk, the higher the return, yeah? But you cannot go all through high risk. There has to be a delicate balance therein. So yes, what I would advise is for you to sit down and do some research about the investment options that are available, both short-term and long-term, and look at the goal that you ultimately would like to achieve. So that would be my advice to you. Then should I invest in a PhD or an investment? Of course, a PhD is an investment in itself, because why are you interested in doing this PhD? Because this PhD could catapult you to getting a job or carrying out a research that eventually can be able to help you obtain your objective. So yes, you ultimately have to consider the goal that you want to achieve. Yeah. So if you've already reached at this level of the PhD and you are considering taking on this PhD, there must be a reason as to why this PhD, what this PhD will eventually be able to help you achieve. So for this, I will leave it open for you. Yeah, I cannot give you a direct answer that yes, take the investment on or take on the PhD, but the guiding principles that I've given on how we can weigh and be able to see what will work for us is very important and critical at this stage. Then the question of borrowing money to take it to another bank to fix it. Yeah. Now it all depends on how much you are borrowing this money. Yeah. And I know for sure that the fixed deposit rates will be in a range of maybe about 10%. Yeah, the highest rate, maybe 12. Yeah, 10%. Yeah. But averagely, if you are borrowing, yeah, right now, borrowing the lowest rate on the market could be in the range of, let's say, about maybe 16, yeah, 15%, yeah. And that will also depend on the type of loan that you are looking at taking on, and because it's basically pricing the risk, yeah. So it wouldn't be a good idea, yeah, from in my view. But as I said, it will be dependent, because at the end of the day, you're looking at a return. So if you are borrowing at 21% to go and fix your money at 10%, that might not be a good logical decision. So it's important that you understand very well and appreciate the costs therein, and at the end of the day, if there is a return for whatever decision that you're taking, then yes, you can take the decision, but otherwise it will be a no.
Okay, thank you very much, Stella. I think let's have 2 more questions, and then the others we will probably carry them forward in the interests of time. 2 or 3 more at the most. Joan raises the question, are there investment opportunities in minerals, oil, and other commodities in Uganda? And how does one invest in such items? If I understood Joan's question, I think she supposes, do we have a commodities exchange in the same way that we have an exchange where you can buy treasury bills and bonds? I guess that's what she was asking. That's my understanding of her question. But anyway, the way she phrases it is, are there investment opportunities in minerals, oils, and other commodities in Uganda? How does one invest in such items? What I read in there is, do we have a commodities exchange? And then if I may raise another one, this is Calvin. Calvin says, what advice would you give? Oh no, I've already raised this. Sorry. Let me just scroll down. Philippa simply thanks you for the good information. And then Diana says, I have heard about treasury bills, notes, and bonds. I would like to know a little more about them. So I think let's take those 2. Yeah, I think let's take those two for now. Yes, Stella, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Anthony. And straight to the question of investment opportunities in minerals. I would say yes, but in terms of us having a commodity exchange, no. But we have, Uganda is gifted by nature, yeah, for sure. And we have several minerals. We have gold, we have copper, basically a variety of those minerals. Yes, the investment opportunities are there, and it's a matter of approaching, for instance, the Uganda Investment Authority and gathering more information on this and the different licenses that you will require to be able to invest in these minerals. So yes, I know of actually entities that are dealing in these minerals in the country. So yes, the opportunities are actually there, and the Investment Authority has all the information in regards to all the licenses that you will require to be able to invest in this area. The next question was to do
Diana?
with treasury bill bonds.
Yes.
Diana's question. Yes, I will touch on it. I've already basically touched on it, but just to give you some insights on treasury bills and bonds. Now, treasury bills and bonds, these are a way of government borrowing from, if I would say, from the economy, yeah, from you and I. And it's done through primary dealers. These are banks that have been earmarked to be able to carry out this activity. As I said, it starts as low as 100,000. And for the treasury bills, it's short term. It's up to 364 days. But you can also have 3 months, 6 months to 364 days. Then for the treasury bonds are long term. They can go as far as 15 years. Yeah. So for the treasury bonds, we have 2 years, 3 years, 5-year bond, 10-year bond, and up to 15-year bond. But of course, there is a cost that is embedded therein. There's usually a tax on the earning that you would have gotten out of that activity. Yeah. So yes, it's considered low risk because the financial institution is dealing on your behalf with the government, and even in the event of another government taking over, your investment is still secure because you are ultimately dealing with the government. So that's why it's considered low risk. So in summary, that's how I would basically summarize the treasury bills and bonds.
Thank you, Stella. And then the last two questions, one is from Fiona. She says, can you speak about saving as an individual versus saving as a group? You know, saving as an individual versus saving as a group. I guess she would want to hear the merits and demerits of either. And then very last question is, kindly provide some tips on business planning. You know, what are the key elements, key business planning elements the saver should be mindful about as they set out to start or grow their own business? You know, just some tips, 1 or 2 or 3 on business planning. I think we'll keep it at that for now. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much. And I'll go straight to Fiona's question in regards to saving as an individual or versus a group. Yeah. the merits, the demerits. Saving as an individual, saving basically, I would say, will be dependent on what you earn. Yeah. So if I earn a substantial income, in my view, because this is now a personal decision, yeah, in terms of saving as an individual, as a group, but also in terms of spreading the risk, yeah. So if I'm saving as an individual, I will save my money. I will decide on what to do with it. I will do research here and there, and I will be able to invest depending. So if I'm saving 1 million, it will be 1 million, and that will be it, yeah. But if I'm saving as a group, I'm leveraging on the numbers, yeah. I'm basically trying to achieve my objective faster, yeah. And I will give an example, yeah. So if I'm saving 1 million by myself, in 5 months, I will have just 5 million shillings, yeah. But if we are 10 people, that will be multiplied 5 times, yeah. So, if I want to invest at that point in time, for instance, I want to buy a piece of land at 5 million shillings, I might not be able to achieve that, yeah. But if we are saving in a group and everyone is bringing 1 million shillings, we might be able to achieve that land, yeah. And then be able to either mutate that land depending on the size of the land, or depending on the objective of the purpose for why we would want to buy that land. So saving in a group helps you leverage, yeah, on the numbers to be able to ride on that. Saving as a group, because as a group, you come together with different ideas, different, because in a group you're dealing with people with different expertise. So you're able to also leverage on that and be able to learn from the different groups, but also be able to save money. Because if we're in a group and we have an accountant in the group, we have a lawyer in the group, we have a banker in the group, we have a business entrepreneur in the group, then we're able to leverage on their services, yeah, because they're all part of the group. So the lawyer might draft for us the agreement free of charge, as opposed to if I'm on my own and I have to pay these services, yeah. But at the end of the day, ultimately, it's a decision that you will have to make, also depending on the objective of why you are saving and what goal you would want to achieve, when you would want to achieve it, yeah. So I would basically say that it's an individual decision, but yes, you can still save on your own, but also it helps for you to be a part of an investment club and save together. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on that, Anthony. So then,
okay.
Then the aspect of the tips of a business plan, a business plan. So of course, when we are starting the business, it's important for us to have goals and objectives. There has to be goals and objectives of why you are starting this business, yeah. So the goals and objectives are important. Then it's important to look at the income that you anticipate to get out of this business, and then plan for it accordingly, because out of this income, there could be regulatory, URA might be coming across. So these are some of the things that we never plan for when we are starting the business. So it's important for us to understand that. We should be able to understand the risks and how we shall manage the risks that might crystallize out of this business. So we need to appreciate the risks embedded in the business that we are basically taking on. It's also important to appreciate, is this business short-term? Is it a long-term venture? Yeah. What in terms of what? In terms of the market that you're getting into. Yeah. Who is the competition in this market? Yeah. Who are the suppliers in this market? Where will I source my materials from? Yeah. Who will be my banker? Who will be my lawyer? Yeah. So end to end, it's important. Then it's important, one aspect that we usually forget is to understand the structure of my business in terms of the finance. How do I introduce cash in this business? How is this cash going to move in my business at any one point? Yeah, and how will I be able to generate the profit, and thereafter, how will I be able to grow the business? So, and of course, not forgetting the people. Yeah, people are important because people will be supporting you in running the business. The human resource, I mean, that will be running your business. So I think in summary, those will be some of the tips that I will leave with the members. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Stella. Thank you very much. Now let's try to wrap up. From my end, I've made a couple of observations based on the discussion and the sort of questions that have been raised. And I could just point out that some of the areas of interest seem to be portfolio selection. You know, how do I set up my portfolio? Then the whole idea of financial versus non-financial investments, you know, versus real investments. Do I put money in a fixed deposit, or do I start my own business? And then the other area seems to be the issue of our context here in this country, in Uganda, rising cost of living versus the need to save and invest. And then lastly, the one that I think stands out is the individual who raised the whole idea of commodities exchanges. We don't have one in this country. Perhaps as a banking and financial services fraternity, it's high time we thought about creating a commodity exchange, an avenue where people can invest directly in oil and in other commodities. You know, there's a whole range of physical commodities. We don't have one in this country. So I guess we want to hear your parting shots. What do you want our members to go out with? What do you want listeners, participants in this webinar, the savings fraternity out there, what key messages would you want to pass over to us, to them? Over to you, Stella.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. As I said from the start, this is a topic that is very close to my heart, and I will leave the listeners with some key parting shots that should put things in perspective, things that we should go and reflect about and think about, yeah, and things that I have seen that at times are a hindrance for us not to save. So I would like to say that we should not spend to please others, because I've seen that play out here, because a number of us are spending money just to please our friends or please our relatives, or basically just show off. So it's important that we save. Then I would also like to make a statement that you need to take personal responsibility, yeah, as an adult, yeah. I know it's difficult for us to save, but for you to be able to religiously be able to set aside that money, to me, is a mark of adulthood, because it's not easy. So it's a mark of adulthood, an ability for you to be able to take that responsibility. then we need to start with what we can afford, yeah? Because most times we feel that we don't have enough money. Money can never be enough, yeah? So it's just a matter of taking that one step. And even if it's saving 1,000 shillings a day, most importantly is building that discipline, yeah? Building that discipline that then it becomes religious. Then religiously, if you can save 1,000, then you will move on to save 10,000, 100,000 as your income grows. So also it's important to save with purpose, save with a goal. Because if you just save money for the sake of saving, chances are that you will blow that money. Yeah, you will eat that money. So it's important that we save with purpose. We save with a vision. Save something that makes basically financial sense to you. Yeah. And then some of us fail to save because of peer pressure. As I say, don't please people. Yeah. So with those parting shots for me, it's been a very engaging audience, and I must say that I have enjoyed myself, and I hope that my insights have touched each one of you in a very unique way, and you will start saving. And I would like to say that we need to start saving now, not tomorrow, not the other day, but the saving must start now. So thank you, Anthony. Those are really my parting shots.
Thank you very much, colleagues, participants. Please join me in extending a round of applause to Stella, a vote of thanks to Stella for her presentation on the issue of the link between savings and investment. The discussion continues. We are continuing with the webinar series. This Thursday, for instance, at 12 p.m., we have a discussion on credit facilities, their terms and conditions. I'm sure, Stella, you would be listening into this because I believe this is one of your core areas as a retail banker. And then on Friday, we will be discussing, oh, wait a minute, I think I mixed this up a little bit. On Thursday, we'll be discussing traditional modes of investment versus contemporary modes of investment. This is this Thursday at 12 p.m. So it's an extension of what Stella has already introduced us to. And then on Friday, we will discuss credit facilities, their terms and conditions. So let's keep attuned to this and follow the discussions. Again, to remember that for details around this discussion, we can visit a dedicated portal, www.yourmoneycan.or.ug, that has been established by the champions of the discussion, the Uganda Institute of Banking and Financial Services. The campaign slogan, the overall campaign slogan for this exercise is "Your money can be." Wait a minute. It is "Your money can be money smart." It's really a smart sort of slogan. Again, not to forget to extend our thanks, our gratitude to our strategic partners, the Bank of Uganda, Financial Sector Deepening Uganda. These have been very, very instrumental in taking off this campaign. Our key sponsors, the platinum sponsors, the Bank of Africa Uganda Limited, of which Stella is a part. So you are really critical in this. The Uganda Insurers Association, and then we have a whole long list of sponsors. The industry has been quite responsive in this area. So we have EcoBank, just to take you through them, Equity Bank, KCB Bank, EFC Uganda, Finca Uganda, Pride Microfinance, Equity, Ugaford Microfinance, Stanbic Bank, Opportunity, Summit Consulting Limited, Bank of Baroda, Bank of India, BRAC Uganda, Housing Finance Bank, and Centenary Bank. So to all of these, we say once again, thank you very much as an institute, but also as Savings and Financial Services Fraternity. So I think we've come pretty much to the end of our webinar series of the day. I don't know whether there's anything outstanding that Madame Goretti would want to point out. Maybe 1 or 2 words. Madame Goretti, 1 or 2 words from you before we close off. She off? Okay, if there are no remarks from Madame Goretti, once again, a big thank you to Stella for the presentation and for ably answering the the myriad of questions that were shot from left, right, center. You can see that this is a really, really topical issue. So please stay in touch with the Institute. We'll reach out to you, especially in case there are additional questions to raise. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sorry, Anthony.
Yes, I'd actually asked you to say 1 or 2 things.
Okay, all right.
Good
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to say a very special thank you to you, Anthony, and to Stella for this afternoon discussion. The topic is definitely very important. We had a number of participants, and we thank you all for putting away time. All I can say is that the discussion continues. In fact, we have taken all your questions. And when you go onto the portal, what we are going to do is that we are going to come up with even a wider array of answers to some of the topics that that have been identified as key. And Anthony, you raised some new issues that came out of this discussion, and of course, aroused by Stella's discussion. So we are going to have those responses, and we'll endeavor to make sure that we put them on the portal. This particular webinar will also be on the portal. Now, a number of things have come up, and I would like to speak, for instance, to the question that talked about culture that Stella answered very well. And this is exactly what we are saying. We are saying your money can be money smart, and we are saying to people, yes, even if it's 1,000 shillings, your money can. So we are saying to the people that we are giving money to, that there is getting money through earning, but the people you give money to, the relatives, the dependents, they must also know that that money they have got from you can. And therefore, it should not be a matter of giving away money for consumption. It should be that when I give you 50, have you saved 10,000 of it? It is every money that we get. So those are the sort of discussions that would like you, and the kind of reflection. It's a moment of reflection, and we are all improving. The wealthy, the middle income earners, the poor, we are all improving, and we want us to reflect on this campaign. Your money can be money smart. So whoever you're giving 1,000 shillings, tell them that money can, let them be smart. They can choose to blow it that day. They can choose to invest it that day, because we've had the people who do chapatis on the road, they all invest very little money, 5,000, and they get something. We are not all experts. We are not all perfect, but we are on this journey to get better together. There've been so many questions, and the answers are as wide as the subject. That is why there are investment bankers that will give you various options. That's why there are the people like Stella that will give you various options. And so would like to encourage you to come for all the webinars, because you're going to find something new. What I can say is that the responses we have got, the feedback we have got is a number of people have said, oh, I've learned something new, or there are so many things we didn't know. And it's because we are not taught these things in school, neither are we taught these things at home. So with those very few words, I would like to thank you. Okay, maybe to mention that personal financial management has got several pillars. So we have personal financial management and savings, which we did last week. We have loans management and investment, which we are doing this week. We have insurance and retirement, which we are doing next week. And then we shall have, beyond that, we shall have digital financial literacy. We indicated usually when we look at our mobile money, for instance, there are so many options but you will find that on your menu on the phone, but you find that you're probably using only one option. So during that week, we shall learn more. And it's not just mobile money. There is so much more. There are the wallets, wallet to mobile money to wallet, and all those things. So we have a digital financial literacy week, and in that week, we shall have a summit as well. So there is a lot to learn. And then after that, the last week, we shall be talking about professional careers in banking and finance. So, and hopefully we shall have a career path discussed a day. So then you can know where and how to get involved. And that will end with a launch of the new UIBFS membership program that will show you how best to improve your career if you're going to develop and improve your career if you want to be in banking and finance for that matter. And this campaign won't end. Even as we close the month, we would like you to go away with that in mind. Your money can be money smart. It's 1,000 shillings. Take off 3 sleepless nights to ask yourself, what can my 1,000 do? The ability of our brains is extensive. By the 3rd day, you will get to know, but it's because we have not been reflecting on money. Let's start to reflect on money. It will be a journey worthwhile. Thank you very much, all of you, and we wish you a good evening.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your money can enable you to live a better life only when you budget and save before you spend. Act now. Learn how to manage your income and expenditure correctly at the Banking Financial Services Awareness Month. Meet the financial experts. Learn how to deal with financial hardships like those caused by COVID-19. Be money smart. Be part of the Banking and Financial Services Awareness Month. Visit www.yourmoneycan.or.ug. Brought to you by the Uganda Institute of Banking and Financial Services, UIBFS.